Is it possible to have humour in therapy? Keep watching and we'll find out more. Hi, it's Rory from Counselling Matters. I'll just take the red nose off. So today's video is about humour in therapy. Can there be humour in therapy? And it's a subject by a book by Andrew J Lansdown, who is a practicing psychotherapist and has given lectures on the subject and has written a book called The Humour Triangle. We'll pop it up here, let you have a look at it. And I'll be kindly sent a copy by the publishers. The publishers have sent me a copy of the book for me to review, so thank you to them. Well, first of all, I found the book really interesting, and it also told me a kind of universal truth that yes, you can have humour in therapy, providing that you have a strong enough relationship with the client, and that is really important. Lansdown books goes on to explain how humour is used, and it also talks about a formula for it, which may seem a little counterintuitive in therapy, having a formula, because it's almost like having an agenda. But actually, when you read into it, you realise that what Lansdown's talking about is appropriate use of timing. And if you're using humour in therapy, well, timing is everything. And if you miss time your interaction with the client, well, you know, that can have an effect on the therapeutic relationship. So what did I think of the book? Well, I thought the book was really informative. My only observation is that it's written in the third person. I would have liked to have seen Andrew Lansdown write the book from his own experience. I think it would have been an easier read. But that having been said, it's really interesting. It gives you a really, really good idea of how therapy is used with humour, and it gives you a formula for it, if you like. It gives you a theory behind it. So I recommend that if you're a student, or if you're a practicing therapist, someone who's been around therapy for a long time, then why not give it a go? Why not buy it? I'll put the details in the bar below, so you can have a look in the comments bar below. My observations on humour in therapy. Well, I guess that every interaction and every client and every therapist should have the permission to use any emotion that's available in the therapy room if it's appropriate. And this is the key thing, being appropriate. Nobody wants a stand-up comedian as a therapist, unless, of course, you go out to get therapy from a stand-up comedian. But nobody wants a singing and dancing comedian act within the therapy room. However, there are times when a client may be laughing at themselves, and the therapist and the relationship with the therapist is strong enough for the therapist to be able to kind of get involved in that. Certainly in terms of the use of empathy. Empathy doesn't always have to be about feeling pain or feeling very strong emotions that are negative. Empathy can equally be about feeling joy, happiness, and indeed humour. A few years ago, I was interviewing for students for a diploma in counselling, and at the end of the interview, one of my students asked me, I asked if there's any questions, and she said, "Do we have fun in training?" And I said, "Yeah, you know, appropriately we do, yes." And I asked why she'd asked that question, and she said she'd been to another training provider who, when asked that question, had responded by saying, "Oh, there's no humour in therapy. There's no happiness in it. It's very kind of dark, and certainly we don't have any fun in training because it's a very serious business." Well, yes, training is a serious business. It's about getting to understand the responsibilities of being a therapist. But, you know, without humour, I think that it would be a darker, more uninteresting place to learn. And humour is well known as a really good resource in terms of helping people learn, become less stressed if they're happier, and the brain works better. It's a kind of well-known neurological fact. So all the times when we challenge a client if they're using humour, do we always kind of laugh along or get involved with a client's humorous outbursts or humorous interactions? Well, there would be times maybe when the humour that a client is using doesn't match the story they're telling. So for instance, if I talked about a bereavement which was very sad and clearly was impacting on me, say I was the client, and then I started laughing about it, there's a disconnection, isn't there? There's a disconnection between what's being discussed and the humour used. And my view on that is that if appropriate, the therapist should make an interaction. The therapist should challenge that gently and supportively and say, I see that you're laughing about what you're saying, but what you're saying seems, quite difficult. And it tells us yet another truth that sometimes clients use humour as a defence mechanism. We all do, don't we? Sometimes it's easier to laugh things off than it is to actually look at them. And sometimes it's useful, again, and the key word here is if appropriate, to challenge the client and just say exactly where they're at with that. So I hope you've enjoyed this little video on humour in therapy. I recommend you read Andrew Lansdown's book. It really is informative. And thank you all for the suggestions that you've posted on the channel. Keep those suggestions coming. I want to collect a number of suggestions that you want to see, because this is your channel. And I'll be doing videos over the next few weeks, answering your questions. And, let's have some fun with that. So that's all from me. I'm going to put on the red nose again. So there we go. And again, thank you for watching. And as always, counselling matters.